What's on your mind?
So, when things are going bad for me, I'm a hook, like an uncontrollable kind of hook. And
Okay.
that's what I'd like to kind of address.
Cool.
And I'm also kind of thinking of the idea of just, purposefully hitting cuts because I'm just so sick of it.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yep.
So
you're trying the opposite.
Yeah, I'm starting to try the opposite. So this year, I've done self-directed swing changes. Like, I used to be really, really flat, almost very Floydish. But now, I'm trying to bring my hands a little bit higher.
Okay.
And I find when I'm playing my best golf, I'm swinging about 80% of what I'm capable of. So that's kind of like the cruising speed.
Cool. I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's hit some. Let me see what you're doing. We'll figure out what's making the ball hook.
When things are going really bad, then it's a hook or a block. Right?
Yeah, they go hand in hand. Those happen.
Still pretty flat, I betcha.
Alright, and so when you take this club back going this way, we don't have a lot of wrist hinge or wrist set to it early. Okay. Which means that as you get this to the top of your swing and start setting your wrist, that's what points it across the line.
Okay.
So from here, as you start down, because you got the late wrist action up here, you've got an early wrist action in the downswing. So when that wrist starts to uncock the golf club, it's actually putting it underneath the plane. So it's getting from here, you can see how the club starts to get underneath your arm.
Okay.
All right, so our swing plane is basically from the elbow through the hand down to the golf ball, and you've got it underneath. So therefore, as that comes into the ball, it ends up being too shallow and too much into out. And so what you have to do is save it with your hands. So there's your hands flipping the club past your body while your body's still in a position of like a pre-impact position.
Okay.
So a couple things we've got to get to today is first the understanding that the body has to lead the way to the finish. And I'm going to give you some tips or some points on the checklist in order to get into a further finish position.
Okay.
All right, relative to the golf club, like relative to where the club is, because when your club passes your body, you're obviously not going to be able to get into the finish at the right time. From a backswing side of things, we're going to start to get this club straight up and down earlier, so more wrist leverage earlier, so you don't have a late fold up here, because as the wrists fold at the top, it's also making your right arm bend too much. So now it's like, I don't like using the word collapsed very much, but that's kind of like the idea that we have too much bend in the elbow, too much bend in the wrists, and what that's going to do is that puts the grip too close to you. So the first thing you're going to do on the downswing is give it a little unwind and a lot of wrist throw, so it's almost like a cast, and we're casting it underneath the plane. Most people cast it over the plane, so it ends up steep and we get pulls. You're the opposite. You cast it underneath, and so what you do from there, as it starts to cast down and get too close to the ground too early, you stop your body to let that club pass and go through. Because if you casted it and turned, you go over top of the golf ball every day. So you've got a couple pieces that you're not doing because of what you're doing to the golf club. Okay. Your club. So what we are looking for, first of all, is the feeling that as you take this club back, that we have a bunch of body turn. Okay, so we want the body to turn, and I want you to feel like it's turning from the thighs. Not a hip turn, not a chest turn, right? It's just taking this golf club and pointing it off to the right. Okay? So like a knee swivel, right? And as the knees swivel that way and they change their flexes, that's when I need this club up. So we want to keep the Arcos logo close to the ground while the golf club gets straight up and down. And you can see that it gets light that way. So we're going to go swivel the knees, lift this club up, and then from there, because you've already got this set, as you continue your turn to the top, it's not going to overdo it, and it's not going to point the club over here. Okay? So first steps is knee swivel, shaft straight up. Knee swivel, shaft straight up. And if we can find a way to get that part first, that's going to be our first step. Second step through the shot is kind of what I mentioned over here. If you want to stand over here for me for a second. If I've got a line, right, that's like a wall, on the outside of my foot, I have to feel as though that through the shot, that I get my knee all the way to that wall, and then my shoulder and my right chest to that wall. But if that stays back this way as the club comes through, right, I've swung the club past my body without using my body to get the club.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah. So getting over to my left side, like man, I hurt my ankle a couple of weeks ago, and that's probably why I'm. Could be, but
like you get to your left side, like you get over here, okay?
Oh, do I? Okay.
It's that the right side doesn't catch up to it.
Oh, okay.
So from where you're looking, I want you to feel as though, like if I was standing there, that you're trying to make your left side disappear because your right side takes over.
Okay.
Right? Like you can't see my left thigh right there. Just right in the way. So that's kind of how we're going to use the camera as a 3D trick. We're going to go knee swivel, shaft straight up in the air, and once you feel like you've got that, keep it going all the way until my right knee and my right shoulder get past the golf ball and all the way to this foot. So that knee gets over that foot. Another way you can think of this is that as you're coming through, the thighs have to get closer together. Right? But if the thighs stay separated, you have it turned. And if this knee stays back too long, then you start overdoing it with the upper body. So you finish like this and you feel like you're over here, but this hasn't turned through the whole way. And if I can get the knees to do the right thing, I get everything above it to go along with it. Okay, so that's the backswing part. As you swivel the knees that way, it turns the rest of my body so I have more room to get the club vertical and lift it up. So the knee swivel, the shaft getting up in the air, and then from there, really feeling as though that this stays back as you start to turn through. So impact today might be the feeling like if the club face is right here off my right hip, that I have to get this over to make sure that the club face can get to the ball. Right? Like if I had the club here, right, and I had to hit this golf ball, how do I get my body to turn to get that club all the way to the ball? Right? And if I just get my knees together, it brings this thing past the ball. And that's kind of our whole goal in the downswing, so that we don't only have the arms going through that way. So knee swivel, shaft vertical, all the way until the leg squeeze and the right side gets further that way. It's not rotation. It's just feeling like it pushes toward the target. Because we are oval, right, we are going to turn and make a rotation as long as one piece goes straight, right? I put my arm forward and turn, it looks like my chest rotated to the left, right? But I'm not thinking turns, I'm just thinking straight lines. So I'm thinking straight line with the knee going that way, straight line with the club straight up in the air, and then my right side pushes through to the target, almost to the point where my right hip and my right shoulder are closer to the target than my left. Like over-rotating might be an idea. But we're gonna have to find a way to do this, feeling like the arms and club stay back relative to that turn. Right? So if I did this without using any arms, see how low my arms finish? Right? It definitely wasn't my arms and hands that put this club past the ball. It was the fact that I got this past the ball. And it brought this with me.
It's a little bit of digest.
Yeah, for sure. So knee swivel to start, good. Right, and then straight up. You want the hands low, open that up.
Oh,
Okay.
oh,
I don't care about this orientation.
oh, really?
Yeah, I just
Oh,
want
really?
the shaft vertical.
Okay, because that's what I've been working on a lot, is kind of bowing that left wrist. So
Sure,
you know,
that's your trying to not hook it.
right.
Yeah, I don't want to worry about the
So-
little band-aids that we put in. We're gonna fix it once and for all. Yeah, good again.
Here we go. Do it again.
Back down. So knee swivel, shaft up. Good.
Even more vertical.
No, the vertical part's good. One more time. We want the vertical part with the hands low. So
Oh.
the hands are down, but this Arcos thing's trying to stay at the ground while this tries to point at the sky. So right, so that would be late vertical. Because this went up really high. It's not what we want.
I do. Okay.
Over.
Okay. So it's almost like sort of picking it up.
Yeah,
Totally.
for sure.
Okay.
Now the other way you can think of it is watch, like the golf club's a teeter totter. And so if you take it back a little bit, and I push this Arcos thing to the ground, the club head goes up.
Okay.
Yes. that's way different. Yeah.
Should I try to hit him?
And then, yeah, easy to get it. Right, so one more time. Take it back to where we talked about. Okay, now slowly start moving your body to the finish. Good, keep going, keep going. Okay, hold it here. Now from here, you've got to feel like you're standing tall. Push this forward and get tall, tall, tall. There. So this couldn't be farther from the ground for me. Okay. Because if it gets short, right, it stays back. Right now I'm behind the golf ball because my shoulder's too low. If I just bring my shoulder up, right, now it's in front of the ball. So rather than think about rotation stuff, I want you to feel as if once you've got this into the end of the backswing, that you try to get knee forward and shoulder tall. And this space couldn't be too long today. Good, and through. Yep, yep. Hey, really good. Do that again, a little smoother. Yeah. Cool, love it. Let's hit some. Sounded flush.
Right, the teeter-totter, I gotta remember that.
Yeah, so push the Arcos logo down, right, but I want this vertical down here, right? So the only way that's going too far is because you're in your takeaway, you're using your arms to pull the club back. The rotation should bring your arms back, right? If I rotate, it moves my arms a good amount, but it also keeps my fingers and my knuckles closer to the ground. Okay. So, yes, there you go. Good job. And so the only way we're going to see the ball hook through this today is if you hit the ball and there's too much delay between your hit and your squeeze.
Okay.
Great shots.
So I could feel like I was still a little bit late on those knees.
So when you get the knees to squeeze, you need to feel like you're really tall, almost like leaning back this way. But when the knee stays down and back, when you finish through, sometimes you finish with your chest forward of your hips, and the belt buckle needs to push through so that you feel like you lean back, just like the TPC logo. Not bad. So once you feel like that the Arcos logo gets low so you get this hinged, make sure you keep turning to crank it back far. If the backswing gets too short, we get out of sequence.
Okay.
So take the Arcos logo like down off the takeaway and then into the sky for the rest of it. You got it. That's really good. So you've got a couple pieces we're working on. I'd recommend like say 2 balls on the takeaway and hit them, and then the next 2 balls just focused on the squeeze and the tall, and cycle through your ideas.
How's it going?
Good. I see where it's going.
Cool.
I've been fatting a lot more shots, but I think that's just me trying to relearn how to hit a golf ball doing these moves.
Yeah, growing pains of it all.
Yeah. I do see. I get instant feedback. I know. I'll yank it to the the left if my knees aren't together.
Yes.
I feel like if I'm hanging back, then I know that's going to go out there. If I
Totally.
do what you tell me to do, then I'll hit these high little with a little bit of a cut actually.
Interesting. Okay. So part of this is a bit of an understanding on, you know, the proper speed to this golf club. And so if I were to break this down in terms of what my body does for speed and when, what my arms do for speed and when, right? When I get into this backswing, my arm speed is here and then it's done, right? So from here on in, my arms actually slow down into the finish. What gets this golf club to the golf ball is me moving into the knee squeeze. See how it brought it past, right? So if I'm taking my arms and I'm trying to swing them past the golf ball in the name of trying to speed this club up in the direction of the target, that's where things get slow. Okay? So I want it to feel as though the arms are slowing them, like they're speeding up in transition, right? But then they slow down here to let the club head catch up. And what actually makes the club go through is this motion. Okay? Which is why when you hit a really good shot, the arms end up finishing a little bit lower. Right? Because I'm not trying to speed my arms up through the shot. Now, with the driver, it's a little bit different because the ball's on the tee, and it's longer, we do kind of speed the arms up longer. So when I strap people into like my 3D suit, I can see the difference between the arms slowing down earlier with a wedge versus the driver, right? Like with the wedge, it slows down so much because we're trying to really control things with our pivot. Okay, so the way that I want to kind of to tackle this right now is to try to feel as though that you're putting all your speed into the ground, not forward and not up again. We're going to let the knee squeeze standing tall tackle that part of it. Make sense? Okay.
A lot of thoughts.
Yeah, for sure. So take it back the way we talked about, handle down, shaft vertical, good. Okay, now as you start to come through with your body, I don't want your arms to get to here. We have to feel like they stop somewhere around here so they don't smash into this stick.
Okay, so you want me to actually
Yeah.
try to
Hit a shot, but don't let your arms get to this club. Stop them sooner. Okay? Your body didn't get all the way to the finish. Okay, one more. So they feel like they work the fastest changing direction. Okay, so like more power up here, right? To let all the energy be done by the time it comes down.
makes me feel like it.
It's a little bit against the kind of the common ideas of the swing. Not bad.
I'm getting stuck.
Yeah.
Because I'm hanging.
Correct.
I'm not turning through.
Yeah. Too short, not rotated enough. Okay, so hit the shot this time and then freeze it. Then hit the shot and then hold still. Hold it there. So if that got through more, and yeah, I knew it was going to happen. So if that stays back for too long and the arms go through, that's why it's hitting it fat. So it's going to feel like from here that the arms go down, but you get taller and push them through more. What makes my arms get closer to the target is pushing things through. Okay. Get this out of the way. Yeah, it might even be just in the knees. There you go. Great strike.
Almost feels like I'm trying to knock it down.
Yes, for sure. The arm motion is definitely a knockdown motion. But as soon as you start to feel forward and tall, it launches it up in the sky.
Feels really steep.
Okay. That's fine. The divots look good. Great ball. Way to go. Oh yeah. I don't think so. I think we'll be okay. It's getting way better. Okay, so show me the backswing pieces again, just so we stay on track with that. Good. No, I like it. One more time, do it. Put it there again. Okay, now just your body. Where's your body trying to go from that spot? Yep. Well done. Good job. It takes a lot longer to get the body back into the right position at the finish. And so if things happen too quickly because the arms are putting the club back to the ball too soon, right, the body's not going to get there in time.
So that shot right there is because I'm kind of that way?
Yeah, just not turned enough at the end. And like literally it's not a powerful thing to get there. I just want you to feel like you keep going with it until you're there. Better. So lowest hands, most turn of the body.
Sorry, lowest hand.
On the follow through, because if your arms start to swing back up, then there's a good chance that's pulling the club out of the ground with your arms. So it's getting too short. We can hit thin, can dig into the ground early, all kinds of stuff. Great strike.
I didn't finish. I can feel it. Like,
Good. So just make it a priority to get there, and don't worry so much about the swinging of the club. Like if it sounds kind of funny to say, but like most golfers put the club head back to the ball too soon. They're in a rush to put the club head back to the ball, where I feel like I'm trying to do everything I can not to put the club head onto the ball. The longer it takes to get there, the more it's lagging, the more it's square it is, the more powerful I'm going to be. So I'm like, wrist angles are literally, their whole goal is to keep the club head away from impact. Right? So as I'm turning through with my body, I'm trying to use my hands to keep the club head away from hitting the ball, not bringing it to it. Great strike. They do. Yeah. And so because that they want to do that, that's preventing your body from turning through. So we're just got to switch that up a little, but you're on the right track. Oh, that's a great ball.
I kind of felt like I did what you told me to do a little bit.
Perfect.